I think this story has been told a little bit, but just how the whole thing with Star Fox team ending up in the game, if you could tell us a little bit about that. Yeah. And was there ever any consideration for like other Nintendo franchises, like Samus's ship from Metroid showing up or anything like that?
So it was a pretty amazing experience, actually, and it has all come together, fairly quickly. I kind of had the privilege of announcing the game to the world at E3 2017, and at that E3 we kind of announced a little sneak peek at the game, and we had a behind closed door demo.
Sure.
That a few people saw, and a small group from Nintendo America came and asked if they could see the demo, and we showed it to them. And at the end of that, they were trying their best to have poker face, but at the end of that they said, "Oh, do you mind if we come back with another group?" And so when they came back, there was another group of 4 or 5 people from Nintendo, but also an equivalent group of 4 or 5 translators. And now it was a group from Nintendo Japan, and many of our heroes from the industry and legendary creators. The director of Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart. The father of Metroid, creator of Animal Crossing, all of these guys that came to, and so, after the second group saw it, and they came by again and again, and ultimately Reggie came by to see the game, and so at that point we kind of knew that there was some interest, something was up, and so afterwards we started a dialogue with them, and I think both parties really agreed that Star Fox seemed like it was potentially a really natural fit. And so, they invited us to Kyoto to present the game to them and present a potential collaboration with Star Fox. And so it was, an incredibly humbling experience to travel there, and I guess the rest is history. Something that we didn't know going in was we knew that we were presenting to Mr. Miyamoto, but we didn't know that he was bringing the entire Nintendo Japan side of the Star Fox 1 development team.
Gotcha.
So everyone was at the table, and we had prepared a 3D printed R-Wing that was fully functional, and a sculpt of Fox McCloud that we had brought to show to them, and so that was kind of the kickoff for the whole thing.
Sure.
It was pretty amazing.
For that kind of thing, I think I remember. Did you have also build a demo that had Star Fox in it or anything like that? Or
we hadn't quite gone that far. We had done a lot of prep work on concept art and narrative of how we would like to merge them together.
Sure.
But we didn't want to overstep any bounds or be presumptuous in any way.
Sure, understandable. You mentioned 3D printing. I know for something like the Skylanders games, I know they did a ton of 3D printing when prototyping and such. Was that part of your process at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 3D printing was a major part of our process. We had a variety of different printers on the floor with the team, and we were constantly rapidly iterating on ship designs and pilot designs. We also had our electronics team, on-site embedded in the team, and so, very, very quickly we could try out new ideas. The connectors in particular went through a ton of iteration to get them feeling right, make sure that they're reliable, make sure that the pull forces are just so that it's easy enough to put a piece on and off, but when you do that, it doesn't pull the ship off or pull everything off with it.
Sure.
So that was a big challenge, but having that tightly integrated team with all of that rapid prototyping tech on hand was really instrumental in that.
I guess is there anything else you want to say just about the narrative, or if you could talk a little bit more about the narrative?
Yeah, for sure. So, in many ways, there's a few layers of narrative. So, there's this deep, deep history to Atlas that we've gone back, thousands of years and crafted. And you'll see, you'll see that history throughout the game in kind of environmental storytelling. On the geological level, from tens of thousands of years ago, or millions of years ago in some cases. So, for instance, the planet Kirit is a desert world, and it's covered by these huge skeletons, and that's actually remnants from when it used to be an ocean planet. but then their atmosphere thinned and the planet heated and the oceans evaporated, and so you're left with all of these fossils and skeletons of giant sea creatures that used to roam the planet, right? So there's kind of that layer, and then the Electrum rush and the Wardens and all of this. Then there's the story of the Starlink initiative arriving in Atlas, really as excited explorers from Earth, venturing out to the stars for some of the first times. And the captain, St. Grant, had done a couple of journeys before, but now he's really built up a team and they're heading out. And unfortunately, it all kind of comes crashing down that they discovered that the galaxy is not always such a friendly place.
Sure.
And so that turns into a very personal story of this rescue mission. And then, of course, there's also the layer of the Star Fox story and how Star Fox is integrated in. So there's the exclusive missions, which really explore the Star Fox team and their journey in Atlas, what they're trying to do, searching for Wolf O'Donnell, who they've tracked to Atlas. But he's also, the Star Fox team is also fully integrated in the main campaign of Starlink. So you can play as Fox throughout the entire game. The Star Fox characters are integrated into the main game cinematics as well. They're really tightly integrated throughout the full experience.
Very cool. Was there any, for the narrative, is there any, since it's obviously sci-fi, is there any, specific movie or, book influences?
So, and I can speak personally, one of our major influences making the game were, in fact, the toys of our childhood and the supporting universes around those. So there was this wonderful era of these incredibly inventive toys that would feature, inventive breakthroughs and new ways to play and reconfigure.
Sure.
And then they'd build these whole universes around that toy breakthrough, around that mechanic. And, many of those are still kind of the biggest properties of today. So, one that I loved as a kid was called Centurions, Power Extreme, and then Beam-In, and have these things. You can see some cues of inspiration for that. But, it wasn't just the toys of that era and those universes, but also the games. So, games like Star Fox. There was this whole wonderful era of space simulators and space games and dogfighting space games. And so, those were all big touch points for us as well.
Would you say even like TIE Fighter on PC, things like that?
Loved it.
I feel like there was a little bit of that DNA in here.
And it's been a while. Those games haven't really been around. Certainly not in that very accessible, fast action adventure kind of way.
Sure. I guess last thing, you brought this up while we're playing, the difficulty. Now, is this game going to be something that I know the game is not totally focused at kids, but certainly kids are one of the main audiences. Is it easy, difficult? What would you say it is?
I would say that it is, what we've found is that it's the right level of challenge for kids, which is a lot more difficult than people think.
Sure.
This has been a major learning for us as we've brought both kids and adults in to playtest the game throughout the development. Is that many kids are really ready for that next challenge, that next level of challenge. And I think back to games from my childhood on the NES, and they didn't pull their punches. They let you go in, but you can really rise up to that, and there's that incredible satisfaction of overcoming a difficult challenge. So for sure we have a range of difficulty modes, and you can set the game to play out the way that you want. But on that normal difficulty level, we think it will provide a level of challenge that maybe people aren't expecting. But that's something that we're actually really excited about, and that feeling of achievement and reward and progression that comes with that, I think is a very powerful part of the game.
All right. Thanks so much for talking, mate.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.